order. The first thing on the agenda is approval of the minutes of March 3rd, 2020. Any discussion? Could I get a motion to approve those?
So move it.
Anif move and Chris second. Does that work?
Perfect. Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. PTAC presentation and funding request.
Good morning. Thank you for having me this morning. Appreciate it.
No problem, ma'am.
So I'm sure you guys have seen the slides, but I will give you a quick run through. What do I have, about 5 minutes?
Sure.
Okay.
Whatever you need.
Yeah.
You guys are great. I appreciate it. So I hope you've all remained safe and healthy past couple months. And again, I appreciate your continued support of the PTAC. Just a kind of a refresh for those of you who may be new on the board, what the PTAC is. We serve as a resource for businesses pursuing and performing under government contracts, and that's all government contracts, federal, state, municipal, military. We help all businesses, not just small and large. We work closely with those large businesses and agencies, military and partner organizations to help them achieve their contracting goals as well. So just some quick fun facts over to the right about our network of PTACs. We're one of 95, including the Indian territories. Overall, past year, all PTACs have created over 550,000 jobs or retained, and assisted businesses with $26 billion in contracts. So next page of slides. We, the PTAC, Monroe County St. Louis PTAC, remained open throughout the pandemic, and now we're open in our new offices, which are fantastic. And thank you, Anna. I don't know if Anna's on the call, but yeah, thank you so much for providing that space for the PTAC. It's beautiful.
Of
I
course.
invite y'all to stop by. Wearing masks. So it's going to be fantastic for us to sit there and meet clients as things slowly, hopefully, in the near future, open up. We're front and center. So I really appreciate that. In terms of the services and our free services overview, as I mentioned, we stayed open the whole time. We did not close during COVID. We continued with bumping things up with webinars versus live workshops. Annually, we do a government to business matchmaker. We are doing a virtual one, more details to follow further in the presentation. But as usual, the bulk of our work is the one-on-one counseling because everybody's so different. So we do the assessment to see if they're ready to do business with the government, provide the guidance on the government marketing roadmap. Should they be selling to prime contractors, local government, state, or federal? Assistance with all registrations and certifications. That's where a lot of our work is done. Notice of any upcoming bid match opportunity service, which is a great feature. I'll discuss it in a minute. Assistance with the bid solicitation and the bid prep. You know, the only thing we're not going to do for them is we're not going to read it for them. We're going to tell them read it 4 times. You're the one signing it. You have to understand what you're agreeing to. And then we hash through it and find out the answers to what questions that they have. We provide assistance in identifying subcontracting opportunities as well, and then clarification on those tech documents. You know, we may not be the experts on all the technical pieces, but we work closely with the Defense Contract Management Agency that has regional experts in these areas. We work closely together and refer our businesses to them. And then post-award performance issue, I've won is usually the biggest question. So we our territory remains 9 counties, Finger Lakes territory as well. So next page of slide. This is just an eye chart of the types of registration and the types of certifications that we do. I want to give a big shout out, to our procurement counsel, Matt Burrell. He's great and a whiz with these certifications and gets our businesses through the process very smoothly and as quickly as possible. I would say that, we've got certifications at least on a weekly basis and multiple ones that we're working on. So our PTAC program metrics, reporting metrics has not changed per the Defense Logistics Agency. So right now, the PTAC program is being administered under the ALA, but that shift is still going to happen where we get moved over to Pentagon under the DoD directly. So a couple of months, we'll see how that's going to shape out. But again, the metrics is new clients. We also have active client base. And then counseling time, our hours, and then unanticipated events. And those goals are set by Defense Logistics Agency. So next slide. Just some quick highlights that I think you'll be interested in. The DoD focus for the coming year does remain on cyber. That's one of their key focuses. And the PTAC, and in particular our PTAC, will be working very closely with the DoD and bringing cybersecurity experts online to help our small businesses at no cost. And then there's some regulatory updates for you, I'm sure you've heard about, in terms of telecommunications, video surveillance, or equipment. The next slide, the PTAC has been assisting for some months now the businesses through the Small Business Administration changes to the economically disadvantaged women-owned small business certification program. It used to be a self-certification. Now the SBA will actually be reviewing the documents. So we've been working with numerous clients already. We've held several training sessions in conjunction with the Small Business Administration to prepare small businesses. Okay, next slide, set of slides. So the closeout report for September 1, 2019 to August 31, 2020. Our overall client satisfaction survey, 48% overall response rate of active clients, and our overall rating was 4.68% out of 5. And then in terms of our progress goals, again, we were, able to really do extremely well, even during the pandemic. So, I'll put a team here. And surprisingly, contracts during this period were great for Monroe County. And in fact, I haven't updated figures. I was looking at just this morning, some people came in with some late reports for that time period, and for Monroe County, it was $56.12 million in government contracts reported. So that's great. And overall, that would be $97.91 million. So small businesses did extremely well. Next set of slides is just an overview of our current year. So we just started our new year, September 1st. Our new client goals are 175. That does not include our active client base. Our counseling hours are 600, and our events hosted by Sector 22, and those are the goals set by the Defense Logistics Agency for us. Some quick updates. I wanted to acknowledge that the Client Award who recently received the Small Business Administration's District Award as a government contracting champion. Previously, only large businesses received this recognition, so we were very excited for Viewport. They've been an active PTAC client and currently hold the military contract for the Marine Corps t-shirts right now for all of them. In terms of what we've been doing, we've recently held a webinar on our bid match service. So that's a service that we pay for out of our budget for our clients, where we set up some keywords and other codes so they receive daily email notifications of potential bid matches. And hopefully the intent is to have them save time and effort and help them better target who they can and what they can bid on. Of course, it's a free service to all our active clients. Next page of slides. So upcoming, we're working with the Small Business Administration to hold a government roundtable on manufacturing the small event. Believe it or not, we're looking to do this live at the Watch Center, which will be COVID guidelines followed to the T. So there'll be some large businesses. We're inviting L3 Harris, Ultralife. Hopefully we can get someone from Lockheed or Northrop Grumman to also attend, and then our small businesses in those categories. We do have the capability to live stream, so if that becomes necessary, we will do that. And I know we had to adjust the time due to the availability, so it does say 10 to 12 p.m., 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. On November 10th, it's actually 8:30 a.m. to 10:30 a.m. And as I mentioned, we are doing a virtual matchmaker. We're doing this in conjunction with the Procurement Technical Assistance Centers in Pennsylvania and Ohio and throughout the state of New York. We're really excited about this event. We're going to be launching live this week to reach out to the agencies and large government prime contractors, where they will be able to set up their own meetings, and then once we get that list start to get beefed up, we'll open the doors to small businesses to register and meet with one-on-one with businesses. So we're very excited with this, and more details to follow, and I can send out links to everyone, and it will be posted on our website as well. Next set of slides. So we're of course here to request the funding match for fiscal year 21. And we are requesting this for the year September 1, 2021 to August 31st, 2022. That's because our application needs to be submitted by or around May 1st. And we are requesting level funding amount of $91,260. What's new, the Department of Defense is now covering 60% of program costs. That means they're going to give us 10% up. They don't want anybody, they won't want to cut down. So they're increasing the funding due to congressional support of the program. It's very popular in Congress. They want programs expanded. They want us to increase outreach and support to businesses throughout our region. That's all I have. Any questions? No questions?
The 91,260. How much did we do last year?
The same amount.
Same amount. So we're just doing the same amount. Okay.
Yes, sir. Any other questions?
Anna, once again, the fiscal year is once again August to August.
Yes, September 1, 2021 through August 31, 2022. So we have to submit our application in May. So we had set this up long ago with the board so that the matching funds are in place before the application is submitted.
Right. Duly noted.
Thank you.
So do we need a motion to approve this funding and recommend it to the board for next week? Is that what?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yes. Yes.
Robin, is that what we're doing?
Yes. Yes. So it's a motion to recommend that the full board approve the $91,260 P-TECH funding request.
Do I have that motion?
This is Chris. I'll make the motion. A
second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any nays? All right. That's approved.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate your continued support.
It's a great program, and it's always been a shining light for us. So thank you very much.
Very nice to hear. Thank you so much. Have a good day, folks. Bye now.
Take care.
All right. Next, the review of the proposed 2021 annual operating budget.
I can go ahead and kick that off. This is Anna. Before I pass it over to Greg, I'd like to introduce this by saying that our intention coming into this new fiscal year is to pass a balanced budget. It's my understanding that in previous years under my predecessor, we were not in the practice of passing a balanced budget. So as we endeavored to put this plan together, we focused on keeping the books balanced. So with that, I'm going to pass it over to Greg, and then we'll open it up to questions.
Okay.
Great.
So let's talk about, again, in terms of there's obviously some significant components of the budget, mainly the revenue side, the incentive programs, and the economic development expenses. Really, the significant portions of our elements of our budget. So, in terms of the revenue, so in years past, we kind of looked at it and we said, okay, what are we really doing? What have we done? So, we went back actually 10 years of revenue and wanted to see really, because again, this is obviously a challenging year and ups and downs and everything else. And so we actually went back 10 years and looked at really bond fee income, right? And project fee income, service, income, just to see, the fluctuations and how close we've been budgeting. And in terms of the service fee income, I mean, the average has been about $228,000, and I would say the high has been 281, and the low's been about 197 over that time. So us using a $200,000 budget, again, I know it's the same as was in years past, but we thought that was potentially the right number, for the service fee income. In terms of the bond fee, again, I know we've always talked about this, and you heard prior administrations talk about we can't budget for bond fee income, and again, you say, okay, well, that's good, and that may make sense, right? But if it continues to happen every single year, why don't you budget for it? So again, same thing. We want to have data that supports our decisions, and so we went back again 10 years and said, okay, what has our bond fee been over these past 10 years? Actually, 12 years. Back to 2008. We don't really have any bond fee income in those 2 years, but again, average-wise, you're looking at about, just pure average over 10 years, about $700,000 of bond fee income. Okay. Now, obviously, there's some significant years in there. 2017 we had 1.8 million in bond fee income. Okay, 2018 was 200, and 2019 was 282. So there's a couple big years in there. So we try to put some sensitivity analysis to that. And say, okay, let's take the 2 biggest years out. What does that get us to? Well, that brings us down to 550. If we just look at the median without the highest 2 years, what does that look like? And we're at about 400,000. So again, the question really has to be is, okay, bond fee income's hard. We're pushing to get a lot of deals done this year. The interest rate environment may affect, may try to, I would think, change the landscape of where those fall and put more into this year versus future years. So it's really, again, same thing. We're really in a position where it's hard to predict the bond fee income for next year. And so, the thought was more on the conservative approach is to continue to not budget for any bond fee income for the next year. Incentive programs, again, in terms of overall expenses and things like that, again, that's, the only ones we really have a real good handle on are the grants, because those are on scheduled programs and things like that. In terms of all the other programs, it's based on applications and where it's trending. So again, based on what Allison has that we're budgeting a little bit less than we have in years past, and so that's kind of where that sits today. About 467 is what the proposed budget is for next year. Economic development, same thing, right? So we're all over the board. We had a lot of programs we budgeted for last year. A lot of things have changed. We try to make a really good handle, get a really good handle on what's in the system now, what we really think is going to happen, for next year, and also try to account for programs that have been talked about. Really, they're not finalized, they're not approved, but may have certainly maybe in play over the next couple months to get approved here, and that's where that economic development expense, other sits about 265,000. So total next year is about 500,000 economic development expense. And we budgeted obviously a lot more last year. We're way down this year where we are because of obviously COVID and some programs that didn't come to fruition. So that's where that's as of today of the budget. And if you look at all of our other administrative expenses and payroll, we do have new payroll positions that are coming into play. That's a significant increase of historical and anything we've ever done before. So that's 137,000 for next year. Our G&A is relatively pretty consistent year over year. One of the significant things that we're not going to budget for is there's the contracted services, where that was a budget of 150. You go down a little bit and it says that's really payroll, because that was the allocation from the Comida. So they're just in different buckets, if you will, because we had to account for the payroll we were utilizing from Comida and that contracted services. So this year there's none of that. But overall, you can see that our P&A and everything else is fairly consistent from year to year. It's actually budgeted quite a bit less than it was a year ago. So again, it's tracking to what we had budgeted for. Loan loss reserve, that's an accounting thing. We wanted to present that. It's not really a cash thing. I guess it is a cash thing. The cash is already gone, right? It's really just an expectation of what loans that we have loaned out that we won't collect on. I think that I believe that number is calculated at 5% of the outstanding balance. That's right. Yeah, about 5% of the current outstanding loan. So, yeah, we have a significant deficit, like we always have. I know Anna talked about balanced budget, but there's no, I mean, as you can see, the goal is to kind of, get to a balanced budget. There's just nowhere to cut. There's just nowhere to cut unless we basically strip out all of the programs and the economic development out of what we're doing. And so we wanted to present it this way, and really more of a discussion of, understanding that, we've consistently budgeted for losses. Generally, last year, we've performed better than budget. This year, we would have performed better than budget if it wasn't for the emergency loan program. So again, it's you get to the point where needs to be an overall theoretical approach to what we're trying to do here. And as we sit here today, if we have $5 million in cash and we don't budget for bond fees income, and we generate losses of $700, $800, $1 million a year, what is that? Obviously you could do the math. I mean, if we really lost $1 million a year, there's 5 years left of this of the operations as it stands. So I guess I would ask for any other comments, if Rachel or Rob and anyone else wants to comment. But currently our budgeted loss is about $1.2 million.
And I apologize for misspeaking, Greg. I got the wires crossed in my mind. I was thinking of the Comida budget, not MCIDC. My apologies.
Again, this is not budgeted. Go ahead, Jeff.
Oh, I was just going to say, refresh my memory on the new payroll
Robin?
So that,
we have a,
so that's significant, that's a different number, and I apologize, I forget why. What, are we paying for positions we didn't pay for before? I think we added a couple of positions, is that right? Is that what that number is?
So, in the past, we'd reported it under contracted services because you paid Comida back for the employees, and we had budgeted a random number, to say the least, I guess. And now we've split it so that MCIDC does have its own employees and Comida had its own employees. It's a lot cleaner. And that budgeted number now is 137.5, which is for the 2 positions that we currently have with benefits.
and payroll service. And then we have another position
All right.
approved.
And we have another position approved.
Yes.
So that really replaces the 155, Greg, that for the year ending on the contracted services down lower.
Correct.
Correct. Okay. Sorry,
There was some
when I was yeah, I didn't pick that up when I was looking at it last night. I was okay. So I guess I go back to the fundamental. We've always been conservative and not budgeted the bond income, but I don't know, Greg. What do you other boards that Bonadio deals with? I mean, if it's so occurring, why do we continue to say we're conservative and not include it?
Yeah, I mean that's a great point. And you're right. Like, in one hand, it's like, okay, right, if it hits you in the head every single year, right? Like,
Yeah.
every year again, I think it's been the thought of the boards and the administration, right, and not over commit to projects, okay, and overcommit to projects that we have money for. So that is, I guess that has been the thinking. Again, Jeff, I don't think even with that, based on the current environment, based on the current landscape, regulations, all that stuff. Although, if you take out some 2 significant years, we're at 400,000 or 500,000. Again, doesn't make a difference. Right, so let's say, okay, we want to do something this year. Let's say conservatively we said 250. Does that move the needle a lot? I mean, okay, now we're going to be in a little bit less than $1 million, deficit. Does that make a difference? Maybe, maybe not. Again, I think it's just been we've been challenged with understanding. It's just some years you're at $1 million, some years you're at 150,000. So that's always been a thought. It's been, again, hard to predict what that number is going to be.
And we have done this is Lydia, so we have done a few bonds this year, one of which was a large U of R bond. And, the reality is in our conversations with them, Rachel, I don't get the impression that they intend to do much more bonding like in the next year or two. Do you, Rachel? They've been our biggest user, I would say.
Right. So a couple points, if I may. That's absolutely correct. I think that U of R has, maxed their debt, their ability to take on debt. We are doing a number of other bond deals this year, and we still have yet to close Highland Hospital and Rochester Regional, so we'll recognize that income, and we earlier closed the charter school deal. So we have a good deal flow this year. I think there's the potential of some deal flow next year as our colleges and universities adjust to new living arrangements for students. So perhaps something we want to get out on the road for to maintain bond fee income. So there's a couple points. And then to the point of, understanding that historically we have not budgeted for bond fee income, but to compare to other Harris Beach LDC clients, I can tell you that they do not typically budget for bond fee income, but I would offer the caveat that
those other LDCs do not see nearly the bond deal flow that MCIDC sees, where they may have, for instance, one of our clients involved in the Rochester Regional Health transaction has one outstanding bond that will be taken out by this current transaction. They'll be fully refunding. So you can use other LDCs as a point of reference, but it's difficult because they just don't have the deal flow that MCIDC has. I don't know if that's helpful or not, but typically LDCs do not budget for bond fee income.
Okay. Well, then that answers my question. I think we should be consistent then and continue to do what we're doing.
Yeah, I mean, again, I would agree with that. I would be, again, this year's obviously, I think it seems like it's a little bit harder, right, in terms of the environment that we're in today to really get a good handle on what that's going to look like. And, the talk that we had internally was, okay, let's certainly, if things change, again, if this repeats again, maybe one more year or something like that, then we really got to maybe consider, budgeting for it. But we're really in a hard spot not knowing what that 2021 landscape is.
Greg, it's Peter. I had a couple quick things. We have this $265,000 economic development expense dash other. Is that just kind of a catch-all?
Yeah, I mean, again, there's been some talks about potential, right, programs and things that have conversations. It's not an exact number, Peter, but again, we do know that we want to continue to support certain things, right? There's no doubt about that. And there have been some conversations about what's in the pipeline. Nothing approved, really nothing set in stone. So we kind of thought, based on what's in there and a rough idea of what those other things were looking like, 265 was a safe number. And again, that's obviously a significant budget cut from where it was last year, right, and a significant reduction of where we were in 2019 as well. So we want to still manage those programs to things that really fit, the organization's mission and everything. So we felt that was a good number. And again, we will continue evaluate that and monitor that as we did this year and manage those things if they're really not hitting, if they're not really functioning as we had hoped.
Okay. And then we were putting in a loan loss reserve for $92,000 at the bottom. Okay. Is there kind of a methodology behind that, or?
I think Peter is simply, again, we wanted to present something that, again, is more of a financial statement based, amount, right? Versus maybe in years past, the budgets were based on cash flow, okay? Right. And that 92, because again, we don't want to get to the end of the year audit and say, hey, we had a loan loss of X, and we never accounted for that in the budget. Well, now we're really accounting for something. And I believe that represents, Peter, by quick calculations, I believe 5% of the total outstanding loans as where they sit today.
Okay. I didn't know if that was something for the, the $2 million emergency loan fund, or it's just more recognition in general. Okay. Thanks.
Well, it does. Again, it is for the emergency loan of, I believe the total outstanding is 1.851 right now, or 1.84 or something like that. So that times 5% is where the 92 comes in.
Gotcha.
This is Anna. Anything that we would spend of the $265,000 for economic development expenses would come before executive committee and ultimately before the board before we spent anything.
Any more questions?
No, I don't have any.
All right. So I believe we need a motion to recommend this budget to the full board.
Correct.
Do I have a motion that wants to move this budget?
So move.
Do I have a second? All in favor? Yep. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any nays?
All right.
There you go.
When you present this before the board, Greg, you're gonna have to present it a little bit more optimistic than you did today.
Duly noted.
I was driving in listening to that, and the pessimism was just going all through the car, you know? I didn't know if I was gonna wreck or what. It doesn't sound like that we're in bad shape at all. It's just a matter of trying to understand our finances because they come from different revenue streams. And because they come from different revenue streams like that at different times, it's just sort of difficult to do that. And so that's what the board has to understand. And even though we come up with a budget or whatever for the year, nothing is out of the realm of having the budget modified if an emergency or something comes up. So I would just make sure that I would present it that way, you know?
Well, and I understand that. I understand the comment. Again, for the purposes of today, obviously, my role is not to present it as, sugarcoating anything. My role is to present the facts and the data, and obviously everyone on this call is very smart in what they do, and they're obviously on this board for a reason, is to understand if we continue to spend more than we take in.
Yeah.
You're right. Luckily, we have
a
very strong balance sheet.
My comments are not a criticism. Let's go back. My comments are not a criticism. I just said that we laid the facts out, and you're going to have to do that again next week when we have the board meeting, so the board understands just what we voted on today, our recommendation.
Yeah.
That's all that I'm saying.
No, I agree. I agree. No, I'm not taking that. I'm just saying, like,
maybe you could present it with a happy face. That's all that I'm saying.
All right. Is there any new business?
Nope.
Then it looks like we can adjourn, right?
You can adjourn, yeah.
Can I have a motion for that?
So move.
I'll move that.
Second.
All right.
Okay.
Beautiful. All in favor? Aye.
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 All right. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Thanks, guys and gals. Appreciate it. And I'm going to move on to my